Welcome back to the lecture series on Introduction to AWS. As part of today's lecture series, we will be focusing on Amazon EMR serverless from when we are going to access this serverless from the CLI mode. So, we will be again creating an application EMR serverless application to demonstrate how to access the EMR serverless using AWS CLI. So, over here it has been segregated into 4 steps as we had seen in our past session how to work with Amazon EMR serverless using console. The same things are going to be repeated over here into 4 steps, but the process is going to be quite different. We are going to create EMR serverless application first. Once the application, that is the runtime environment, is ready, then we are going to submit a job to run on that particular framework. Once the job is getting into running stage, if you want to revive or else if you want to know the status of the job, that then we can view it through the UI. This time we do not have an UI, we have to work with command line interface, and once the job is finished, then we need to clean up the things. To work with, the first step is how to create an application serverless. When we are working with CLI, this time we are going to work with the commands. So, first thing is we need to use EMR serverless option for creating an application in the command prompt, and once along with this EMR serverless, we will be mentioning the type of the application. Here the type means which particular framework we are going to use, such as Spark or Hive or any other pig, whatsoever frameworks you want to use, that particular framework needs to be mentioned in the option as type, and we need to give an option or parameter named release. We need to mention the release version of EMR. Along with that, this name of the application, this is an optional, this is not mandated, but you can, if you want, you can name your application. So, the command, if you are working with Spark, it looks like this, where AWS is the prefix for AWS CLI. We want to work with the service EMR serverless, and what you want to perform, you want to create an application. Along with that, the release version of EMR serverless, here we had mentioned it as 6.6.0, and the type, it means that I will be using the Spark, because if you are working with Spark, then the type should be Spark, the framework, and I am naming my application as my application. This is a command which you have to execute on the CLI. When you are working with Hive, then this is a command which you have to use to create an application, such as AWS, a prefix, and you want to use the service EMR serverless, create application same as previous, release same as previous, but the type has changed to Hive. If you are working with Hive, the type is gonna be Hive. This is how to create an application. That command, if you are going to execute that command, it will generate an application ID which you have to note it down, because this application ID needs to be used in our further steps to create an application. To get the status of the application, you can also use this particular command, get application status, using the application ID. Once the application is launched, the environment is running, then in that environment you can submit a job with the script. Just like here I am willing to execute my Spark script, so I will be submitting my PySpark script. For PySpark script, I need to upload this particular script onto S3 storage by creating a bucket. So, how to create the bucket? This is one type of step where I will be using S3, where I am copying from one particular location. This is my script word count.py. This is my script which is located in samples word count scripts folder. I am copying from here to my working directory or else working environment. The script is going to be copied first. Once the script is available, then you can run your Spark job using this particular command, where AWS EMR serverless is common, but this time you want to start the job to run it in the environment, where you are going to provide your own application ID, which we had noted down in our previous step. Along with that, we need to mention the role, that is IAM role, identity and access management role. We need to mention over here in our application. Why? Because your application is talking to S3 bucket. S3 is a different application service and EMR serverless is a different. If they have to speak to each other, then you need to provide the role, because one service can talk with another service when you do have a role in between them. This is optional thing. If you want to provide your job a particular name, then you can provide, it is not mandated. And lastly, you are going to mention the entry point and argument point. What are these? Where your script is present and where your output needs to be stored. These two things you have to mention it in the driver class. Once you are running your job, then it gets, if you want to get the status, then you can execute this particular thing. As we had seen over here, to get the status, we had used get application along with the application ID. This is a command which we are going to repeat over here to get the status, get job run and application ID to know the status of your job ID also. Here this time we are providing job ID also. Once you are done with everything, if you had finished the job execution part, if you want to delete an application through command prompt, then these are the steps. First you need to delete your application, then you need to clean up your S3 bucket, then you can delete your role which you had created to have a communication between EMR service and S3 bucket. To delete your application, just say delete application and which particular application you want to delete using the ID. If you want to delete the bucket, then simply execute RM command to delete your bucket from, if the bucket is not empty, then you can use delete bucket also, or else you can mention recursive also. For recursive, if the bucket has more than one file, you can have recursive option also. And the last thing is to delete the role. If you want to delete a role, then first you need to detach the policy. Once the role is detached from the policy, you can delete your role, AWS delete role, then you can delete your policy. So just over here, if you want to delete the role, you need to detach the policy first. Whichever policy you had attached to this particular role, you need to detach the policy. Once this policy is detached, then you can delete the role, then you can delete the policy. So this is the way how you can clean up the things. Thank you.